no doubt in my mind, He will, He will. The same God that brought me out the last time, and the last time, and the last time, and the last time, He's gonna bring me out this time. He will. Oh, that I know, 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 that I know.
You did not create me to worry. You did not create me to fear. But you created me to worship daily. So I'ma leave it all right here. Help me say yeah.
You did not create me to worry.
You did not
You
create.
did not create me to fear.
When you created me,
Created me to worship.
oh yeah. So
Leave it all right here.
yeah, help me say yeah.
You did not create me to worry.
Oh,
You did not create me to fear.
when you created me, yeah,
Created me to worship.
that's what you made me for, yeah.
I'ma leave it all right here.
My hands are raised.
Hands are raised because
Well, let me say good evening to you all. I should say good afternoon to everyone here. On behalf of the Pleasant Hill Church and Community Center, I want to welcome you to our mayoral debate. My name is Dr. Civic Strickland. I have the honor of serving as senior pastor here at the Pleasant Hill Church and Community Center. And I have the distinct honor of being your moderator here on this afternoon. Now, before we begin the debate itself, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and to thank our city council candidates who joined us at 4 o'clock for a city council meet and greet from 4, of course, to 4:30. And I just want to acknowledge those who were here. So from Post 4, David Johnson, incumbent, and Jennifer Philippi. We appreciate them being here. And of course, Post 5, William Morthland. He's the incumbent. And Eradera Brumley. Hopefully I said that name right. And of course, from Post 6, we have Christopher Zack and Nicholas Porsche. And so we appreciate them being there. Hope you had a chance to kind of mingle around, those who came in a little bit early, to mingle around and to connect with these city council candidates, those who are running for city council seat post 4, 5, and 6. Let me take this opportunity, of course, to welcome any and all city council members who are with us tonight or this afternoon at this debate. We appreciate your presence. Man, we appreciate the presence of Gail Bohannon McCoy with the Grove Way Community Group. We appreciate your presence here on tonight. Pastor Christopher Todd and the Zion Missionary Baptist Church, we appreciate your presence here on tonight. So again, not only do we appreciate those who are here, those special guests who are here and dignitaries who are here, but of course all of you, each of you, the citizens of Roswell, Georgia, we appreciate your presence coming out to this all important event. So now we do turn our attention to the candidates, and I'm going to call them up on tonight. And with the exception, so here's where we make an exception to the rule, because, of course, I want you to hold all your applause to the end and that kind of thing so that we can make sure we're hearing and connecting with what the candidates have to tell us tonight and share with us on tonight. But with the exception we're going to make is that, man, you can clap and yell and scream as loud as you want to when we call them up here at the beginning of our time together. So we turn to and we welcome to the stage and to the podium Mayor Kirk Wilson, if you'll come, and we'll give, yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight. We welcome, of course, to the podium, Mr. Steve Darby. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And we welcome to the podium and stage Mrs. Mary Robichaux. All right. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Again, we thank you all for coming, and all three of you for coming and sharing with us on tonight. We appreciate your presence. Now, the purpose of tonight's debate is to help Roswell voters hear clearly where each candidate stands on issues that shape our city's future. From fiscal policy to housing and infrastructure, trust in government, and of course, we're going to deal a little bit with our city's 2045 comprehensive plan. Our time together will run approximately about 90 minutes, divided into 2 major segments. And so as we begin to explain the segments, they will flow in this wise. So first, we'll begin with opening statements from each of our candidates on tonight. And those opening statements will be 3 minutes each. Then we'll move into our first major segment, roughly about 50 minutes or so, which focuses on policy and leadership questions. And these leadership and policy questions are designed to reveal differences, specifics, and the choices before the citizens of Roswell. There will be 5 leading, 4 to 5, I would say, leading questions in this first major segment. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. After all have answered and spoken, we'll move into a 6 to 7 minute open discussion. It'd be moderated by me, but this is a time where the candidates will be able to engage each other and kind of respond to one another. In the second segment, we'll take questions from the citizens of Roswell. selected from and submitted by those who came early on, and you came to the meet and greet and took time to stop by the table to write down their questions and that kind of thing. And so each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer those questions from citizens, but there will be no open discussion round. Now, finally, each candidate will deliver a 1-minute closing, or I should say 2-minute closing statement, followed by closing remarks from myself. All right? Now, for the record, the questions raised tonight were submitted by, suggestions were made by many people, but they were ultimately selected by myself. And they were not submitted by the candidates, and the candidates didn't have a chance to, look over the questions, that kind of thing. And so they're going to get them hot off the cuff on tonight. Please remember to be respectful, of course, not just on the stage, but even in the house. All right. Our goal is civil, substantive conversation and not confrontation, okay? So we want to make sure that we're informed tonight, and we want to make sure that we're heard. So we are in church, and I am a pastor, and so guess what we're going to do before we begin? We are going to pray. Let's pray together. Lord, thank you so much tonight for who you are and for the many wonderful things that you've done, for allowing us to gather in this place for this all-important event. I pray that our time together will be a blessing. I pray that it would be productive. We ask your presence to be with us. I thank you for this city, God. I thank you for how you have kept this city and where you brought this city from and where you're getting ready to take this city to. I pray for each candidate that's on the stage with me now, and I just ask, God, for wisdom to lead our conversation. And God, ultimately, I pray that you would be glorified in all that is said and in all that is done. It's in the name of your Son, Jesus, that we do pray. Let everybody say amen, amen, amen. Thank you all so much for that. I probably was going to do it anyway, but thank you. I appreciate it. All right. All right, so let's begin. We drew numbers downstairs, and so we're going to begin with our opening statements. And I believe, Mr. Dorvey, you drew the first number there. And so we'll begin with you, followed by Mary Robichaux, and then by Kurt Wilson. So please begin. It's in your hands. Yep, or whatever you feel comfortable. It'll come on. Let's go.
There we go. Thank you.
All right, 1 second. All right, so in the sound booth, it is very imperative that we stay attentive to what's happening so that when we move from speaker to speaker, that we hit that without delay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Strickland. I'd like to thank you and Pleasant Hill and also Zion and the Grove Way community for having us here today. You have been tremendous partners in this city. You have been community organizations of long standing, and I appreciate all you've done for this city. You are the fabric of the city. I was 16 years on the Children's Development Association, Children's Development Academy board, and you and Zion have been tremendous supporters. And that is what I want to bring back to Roswell. We need to start listening to the people of Roswell again. We need to get their input so we don't make mistakes and we make our good ideas better. No one who was listening would have cut down 6 acres of trees at Mimosa Hall. No one who is listening would do a lot of things that have been done by this current administration. We need to listen and move this city forward, and we can. Great things happen when you listen. We had the nation's finest recycling program because people got involved with our city. We got all sorts of parkland for free because we listened to people, got them involved in acquiring parkland and helping to pay for parkland, and we did great things. And that is what I want to continue, and that is what I want to have brought back to the city, a sense of community. We used to have people that did the gardens at our historic homes. They've been shunned away. We had people that watered the plants in the historic district. They don't do that anymore. We need to bring that kind of volunteerism and input back to our city. Now, I have been criticized for wanting to have a listening tour, and that is not what I'm saying. I believe we can move this city forward, we can engage in economic development, and we can improve things and listen at the same time. My plan is first, when I'm elected, to have an audit of the city, and Mary Robichaud also agrees with this, to find out where we are financially, because we don't know. We spent $550 million over 30 months, or we will have by the end of this year. We need to find out exactly where we are financially. Then we need to increase input immediately. I will go ahead and remove many of the limits on public discussion at council meetings, particularly if you own a business in Roswell, but you don't live here, you may speak. Simultaneously, I'm going to inventory all projects. I do not want good projects to go away. I just want bad projects stopped. And one of those, as you know, is the stadium project in East Roswell. And I have learned that there is no plan by this administration, aside from that stadium, to improve the east side of Roswell. I think if we work together, we continue to take public input and input from the business community and work together, we can redevelop our shopping centers. We can redevelop our aging apartment inventory, and we can make Roswell the #1 city in the state and the #1 city in the country, like it was when I was on the council. Thank you.
So I would also, sorry, this is very loud. I would also reiterate, thank you, Pastor Strickland, and everyone who's attended, all of the organizations, the pastors. This is a community that is part of Roswell, has always been part of Roswell, but sometimes it's not considered as important as the rest of Roswell. When I was your state representative for 4 years, I did become very involved in the community here, and I would like to believe that I've continued that involvement with both Groveway and other organizations around this area, but across Roswell, to make sure that we are all one Roswell. I know there's a big divide called 400, east, west. We get into those kinds of things, but we are one Roswell, period. Some of my plans, as Steve said, yes, I do plan to have that forensic audit, but that's going to be involved also with an independent investigation to look at the contracts that we've been signing off on. There's something that we need to know, and this is actually one of the recommendations from the Georgia Municipal Association, that when a new administration comes in, you need to look at things that happened in the past. Where are those things you can build upon? Because some things have been done very well. And what are those things we need to fix quickly, or are going to take a long-term fix to make that happen? Some of the other things, as we talked about, if you're a business owner here in Roswell and you do not live here, but you are paying taxes, you should be able to speak at public hearings. But I personally think anyone should be able to speak. We thrive on visitors coming into our community. If they want to take the time to come down to City Hall and talk at a City Hall meeting, I'm all for that. As we talk about listening tours or listening more to people, my plan is to expand the concept of open mic night, not just the 5th Monday of a month, which only adds up to 3, maybe 4. I would like to do more frequent. I would like to do those across the city. Some of us, as we know, we do have some traffic problems that need to be solved and looked at. So let's make it fair and go back and forth between the city areas that need service. The other thing that I would like to see happen here in Roswell is that we preserve all of our history and all of our natural resources. And in some areas, we're going to have to try to restore some of it. We are sitting in some of the land that was originally deeded at the end of the Civil War to some of the enslaved people. Some of their descendants still live here, and we need to make sure we honor that, incorporate that into our history, understand what that means, the whole history of where we are. So I would like to see us do those kinds of things for all of Roswell, because I think we can learn and listen from each other.
Four years ago, I stood before you as a husband, a dad, a businessman, and a neighbor. And I said Roswell was at a crossroads. we were falling behind. Our city hall was paralyzed by dysfunction and inaction. And your family and my family was paying the price. I ran because I knew that if we did not take action, change would keep happening to us instead of for us. The people of Roswell wanted results, action versus talk. This is what we were faced with 4 years ago when I was with you here in Pleasant Hill Church. Just think about this for a minute. 4 years ago, you and I were asking the same questions. We were asking for 15 years, will Oxbow Road ever get done? We were asking for 15 years, why has there been no investment in our parks? We were asking for 15 years, why is the city of Roswell financially inept? We were asking for 40 years, why don't we have a parking deck? We were asking for 20 years, why do we have a part-time fire department? We were asking for 20 years, why do we underpay our police in comparison to other cities? We were asking for 20 years, why do we talk about economic development, but there's nothing to show for it? We were asking for 10 years, why do we talk about our historic assets, but we have no plan for them? We were asking for 15 years, why have we ignored our housing authority? We were asking for 20 years, why have we ignored human trafficking in our city? We were asking for 15 years. Why have we talked about having more sidewalks and multi-use paths and have nothing to show for it? We were asking for 10 years. What happened to our east-west connector? We were asking for 30 years. Why do standalone apartments keep getting built? And for 30 years, we were asking and seeing elected officials and those running for office saying, we're going to protect your neighborhoods and we're going to have smart growth. Everything that I listed, every question I listed, has been executed by this current team, the elected leadership and senior team. It's a remarkable record. More has gotten done in the past 3.5 years than the past 35 years in the city of Roswell. And tonight, you're going to hear a stark contrast about delivering results and the opposite. Thank you.
Thank you so much. To all of you, we appreciate those opening statements that you have made. And now, we're going to transition into our first major segment. We call this the leading question round. Of course, in this segment, I will explore 4 to 5 key areas shaping Roswell's future. Of course, again, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. After all of you have answered the question, we will go into a brief open discussion, okay, where you'll kind of be able to engage each other, all right? So let's go ahead. The first leading question, it's a big one. It deals with this idea of transparency and trust, which I believe to be 2 pillars of good governance. Many residents have voiced concerns about transparency in decision-making, public communication, and how information is shared between the city and its citizens. And so here's the question: how will you strengthen transparency and rebuild or sustain public trust in city government, particularly in how decisions are made and communicated to the people of Roswell? Mr. Dorvey, we will start with you.
My entire campaign has started out based on transparency. I want to see the citizens more involved, as I said. There are various ways to do that. You need more public hearings on important issues, and they don't need to be in City Hall. They can be around town. When we redid the sanitation system way back when, and I know this is old history, but we were $1 million in the hole. And And we went around and we talked to people and said, here's our problem. We're $1 million in the hole. We need to change things. How do we do it? And we did that. We did a survey, and we wound up saving $1 million for the city of Roswell because we asked people how to do it, and they told us what they wanted. And that allowed us to go to the curb and have the most successful curbside recycling program in the United States. We need to continue to do that. We need to reinstitute our citizen boards. We need the transportation committee to come back so that they have input. And we need to stop doing things in secret. There is a proposal for a piece of property to put a stadium in East Roswell, and nobody's heard about it. Now, I understand there are reasons for that. The mayor says he wants to run this place as a business. I agree we need to run it efficiently. We need to run Roswell and the city of Roswell government efficiently. But if you run it like a business, then you start keeping your trade secrets. And the first thing that dies when you run a city like a business is transparency. We also need to go ahead and get as many items on the agenda out as early as possible for every meeting and every commission meeting and every public hearing, and involve the citizen. Tell them what is going on. Don't say, well, we got a secret project over here for a shopping center. We've got a secret project over there for this. And I think if we do that, the citizens will become re-engaged, and we will have the sort of transparency that we covet in this city and that has been lacking and that has really sort of fueled my campaign. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think those are going to always be the two words that are very important to everyone. And they're very simple words, but they're very complex words. When we talk about transparency, I would like to believe that throughout my service, both at the state capitol and then also when I was in healthcare, we were open and honest, and we had to sometimes say some hard things to people, but you have to say it. Now, you have to be willing to listen to what the person says back to you and understand where they're coming from and try to learn from that. You know, again, as I said before, I want to go around the city talking, not just having everyone come to one spot at my convenience or city council's convenience. We can do that. We have the technology. We're here. It's being broadcast. We can do this from multiple areas. I know in the beginning there was a communication board type thing for the different HOAs across the city, but that's been no longer in place. Maybe we should bring that back. That would be another way to get more information. I want to make sure we're meeting people where they are. As far as trust, when I think about trust, it's that we are all human beings. We're going to make mistakes. But the biggest thing that I've learned throughout my career is that when you make a mistake, you should learn from that mistake and not keep repeating it, and be open to learn to do better. We know we've had a communication problem, and yet we don't seem to be fixing that part. Things within our financial situation, people have been asking, we have to put in open records requests. We should not have to put in an open record request to get information on your state, the way in which we're doing things, and the way in which our budgets are being run.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Strickland. Yeah, a couple just practical matters. Roswell Connections. If you haven't been to Roswell Connections, and I have a feeling that there are some people who may be running for office have not been to Roswell Connections, all the information about current projects is on Roswell Connections. It's very illuminating, it's very clear, and it's meant to be to continue to illuminate information to everybody. With respect to the practicality of changing the communication strategy in the city. So we took the outstanding fire chief that we had, Joe Panino, promoted it up to a senior vice president, put comms under him because he did such an excellent job with communications with both the fire and the police. And so Joe is now over tackling the communications challenges that a local government has. It's not Coca-Cola marketing. Our job is not to propagandize. Our job is to give you the information straight as it is. We do that. With respect to the transparency issue, my job as an elected official, as mayor of the city, is to listen to 94,000 people, not 250. I can tell you one thing we made from a practical standpoint is like on open mic meetings. The previous administration had taken staff out of those meetings. We brought staff back into those meetings so that specific questions could be answered at any given time. I'll say another thing with respect to trust. Trust is about competency. It's easy to talk about trust, but if you're not competent, And the city of Roswell was not competent for 25 years. It was a city of no, it was a city of chaos, and a city of drama. Now, some people seem to enjoy that. It's a bad look for our city. It's a bad look for residents. It's a bad look for businesses looking to come to Roswell. Some people seem to enjoy that and want to go back to that. I do not. I don't find that a favorable, good thing. I'm an open book. We'll meet with anybody, any place, anytime, anywhere. That's our job, and that's what we do. Thanks so much.
Wow. Thank you three. Thank you all three of you for those, for your responses there. Now, we're going to just spend some time engaging each other. So, do any of you have any specific response to the others? So we'll begin with you there, Dor.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And I want you to speak directly to who.
And this is directed to the mayor. 21 former officials wrote a letter to the mayor and the council because they cared about our city, and they thought some things were going wrong. And to get those 21 people to agree on anything was spectacular. But 21 people agreed. We sent the letter to the mayor, and he referred to us as silly, unserious people. He doubled down on this at his campaign event last Sunday, From the Earth, where he called us silly people. If you're going to call former officials of your city silly people, officials who went out of their way to try to help, what hope do we have that you will listen to them?
Okay. Mayor Wilson.
Yeah, pretty easy. Thank you, Pastor. If those 21 people were serious, they would have actually reached out to us and said, hey, can we talk to you? Hey, we got a problem. Hey, we don't like something. That's what most of us do. That's what most of us residents do. This was grandstanding at its best. It was a simple orchestrated event by the past mayor, Jerry Wood, and making political hay to set up a campaign to run for election. It's pretty simple. It's politics at its best. Good job. Hey, got some attention, got some press, actually solved problems? No chance, no way, any interest, because if you were, you would have said, hey, mayor, hey, city council, can we talk to you? We're concerned about this. Never happened, never will. It was all about setting up a political campaign.
Okay. Mary, how you can chime in.
So I want to go back to the statement that if you look on Roswell Connections, everything's clear. And I like to believe I'm a semi-intelligent person, and I do go on to Roswell Connection a lot. I am not a CPA, but I have a hard time understanding a lot of the information that's presented via budgets, even when we get into the projects. And I know of other CPA experts who also are having those same problems. And when we bring that up, it's coming, it's going to be fixed. So I think we need to be careful when we say it's 100% clear. People are asking for it in either a different format. Something is not being presented in the right way that everyone can understand it. The other thing, I'm not going to disagree that Roswell was known in the past as a city of no and had delays. That's been ongoing. But I will also say we still have some of those same problems. When I've been out talking with people, I meet people who are having 4 and 5 month delays to get a permit to rebuild their deck in the exact same format that they want to do from the city. I've heard from businesses who have issues getting permits. So to make, I think we need to be careful that not everything is 100% perfect. We always need to have improvement. That's one of the things we should be doing and looking at. But those services that we offer the people are the things we should always focus on and keep improving to make sure we're delivering the services that you, the taxpayers, are paying for and expect from your city officials.
Okay. Would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, that's why I'm running again. We got a lot to do. We've done a lot. There's still a lot of things to fix. Perfect example is ComDev, community development. I was one of those people that took 6 months to get a permit this year for a deck. I can relate. Like, part of fixing a organization that has not been working very well for 25 years is an enormous task. It is turning the Titanic. It doesn't happen overnight. That's why we had to bring in real talent from the outside. In the past, we had a director-level situation, very siloed, very non-communicative, a lot of very poor cross-functioning happening in the local government. And talk about the inability to solve problems. ComDev is a big one. Finance was another one. Comms is another one. All of these areas, for example, needed to be addressed, and they're being addressed, so we had to bring in talent. That's why we brought in Don Stevens as our COO. That's why we brought in Bill Godshell as a CFO, because we discovered, Saban, it's interesting, Talk about financial eptness and not having your. This city in 2011 went from a pension plan to a defined benefits plan. Not a bad idea. A lot of cities do that. But in doing that, we created an unfunded liability of $27 million and didn't even know it until we got into office 2 years ago. And once we discovered that, now that's, by the way, the taxpayers are paying for that. Perfect example, we have the acumen and the expertise inside City Hall to figure out how to take a $27 million unfunded mandate that the city wasn't even aware of. That's why I say financially inept. And we have figured out how to pay that off in the next 15 years.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, so
without hitting taxpayers.
without, say that one more time.
Without affecting taxpayers.
Without affecting taxpayers. Okay. So, we've heard you all talk about this idea of transparency against the backdrop of maybe, as Mary said, having an advisory board, and you said we got Roswell connection and that kind of thing. So let me hear from each of you, just kind of taking a minute or so. Can you give us a concrete example of a, I don't know, specific policy or tool maybe? I know we talked a little bit about this, but tool that you'd implement to enhance transparency. I know we talk about this, but what kind of policy would you do to do that? So let's begin with Ms. Mary Robichaux, and then we'll go to Mayor Kurt Wilson, and then to Steve Dorby. Just, yeah.
So I think there's lots of different communication tools, and as we know, different people will receive information in different ways. Again, I rely a lot of that on my healthcare background and also my legislative background. Some people you could say very specifically, here's your diagnosis, here's what's going to happen, here's how we're going to treat. Other people needed to understand more, to learn more, to be able to question more. It just varies what people need. One of the tools, and I know we could use it, I would have to investigate it. I'm not saying we're going to do it. What about some form of a texting model? You know, some of us like texting versus Facebook pages that I have to, so you're pushing something more out to the community versus expecting them to go in and look at things. But again, that would be something we could look at, those kinds of opportunities. As far as reporting on financials, and I know it's been being worked on now, but it's been worked on now for 3.5 years, is the concept of a monthly unaudited report of our actuals to our budgets, and by budgets I mean both our income and our expenses.
Okay.
I understand how hard that can be to produce, and people want, it's not going to be audited, we understand that, but we still can't seem to get that.
Thank you so very much. Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mary, for bringing that up, because we've not had the opportunity to talk about that. So just a little FYI for you, you might find this interesting. In the past, the city of Roswell would produce financials, and they would take a 12-month budget and divide it by 12, and then produce that and put that up online. The problem with that is not showing real operational activity. So the operator, whether in the police or in public works, has no idea of actually the real numbers that are being used. And that's what the city of Roswell was publishing as financials. We have come in and created real budgeting through zero-based budgeting, and we've created real accountability and real illumination to the operators, that is the folks doing the work in the city. So now, you've just seen for the first time in the history of the city of Roswell, real financials based upon transactional activity produced for the first quarter and the second quarter and the last 6 months of 2024. Those are out. You'll continually to get quarterly financials until next year, probably the third quarter of next year, where we're going to get the software linked up to be able to produce financials. We are producing financials internally. The ability to produce them electronically online probably won't happen until, I believe, July or August of 2026. And that's based upon, the other thing is I got a few good ideas, but honestly, most of the good ideas come from the people, and they also come from the professional staff. And so a lot of things, for example, probably like I said, we're not the Coca-Cola marketing team. But right now, you on your phone have an app that you can basically report any problem in the city of Roswell at any one time. And you probably know that we're about to unload a full customer service, resident service team for all businesses and all residents. One call, that's all, one place, where the city of Roswell is now responsible for getting you routed to wherever you get, rather than having to come in, walk through the building, talk to 27 people, or call in and get switched around. That is changing right now and is about to be brought out to you, I think, this month with a brand new customer service and resident service for all of us.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Darby.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, we need to fix the bond dashboard so people can figure out what's going on with the bonds that they voted for. We also need to have a policy where it is only a last resort that a citizen must file an open records request to find a city document. We should also have a policy that, unless it becomes burdensome, our department heads or people in a department can answer questions of the public. I tried to ask a question of the police chief, and it took me 5 weeks and a large meeting before I could get the answer to my question. We also need to allow business people to speak at council meetings and so forth, and we need to just restore that trust. I would like to thank the mayor for sort of saying things went wrong for the last 25 years, because I wasn't there during the last 25 years. We were transparent before, we got people involved before, we got along before. You know, we had our 4-1 or 4-2 votes, but we got along, and I think we can continue to do that. But once again, transparency and getting input from the community are sort of two sides of the same coin.
Okay. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Thank you to all you candidates for sharing that with us. Now, yes. Yeah, I'll give you a one minute rebuff.
I ask simple logic of everybody in this room. We all have our unique relationships, whether it's families or PTAs or businesses or teams. And we all understand the dynamic nature of relationships. And I ask you a very simple question. If there was real distrust happening at any level, don't you think that one of your elected officials, one of your 6 council candidates, would be yelling from the rooftops about how bad things were, how distrustful, how malevolent the behavior was? It's illogical. What's happening is that you're seeing rational actors, adults, getting together, and working things out, which is what I want as a resident, and my guess is what you'd want as a resident. But all this banging and knocking and gathering and bells and whistles about distrust and dishonesty, it's political. You can come ask me as your public servant, as a mayor, anything you want, anytime you want to. And that question will be answered directly. And if I say I can't answer it, same with this council. So logically, I would ask you to think about the trust issue in a little different way.
Thank you so very much. All right. So, of course.
Can we respond to that just very briefly?
I will give y'all I'll give you 1 minute. Yes, I'll give you that. So 1 minute, 1 minute.
I would like to point out that we have an organization in town that is thriving with over 8,000 members called Roswell Truth.
Okay.
I would like to make Roswell Truth obsolete. Thank you.
Okay.
And mine would be, I agree that if things are going on that appear to be going on, we should have our elected officials standing up and screaming from the rooftops. Instead, we have numerous employees, long-term employees of this city who have resigned because of things that they are witnessing that they feel are incorrect.
Okay. So, thank you for engaging. Transparency, trust is so very important. So we appreciate you for engaging in that question and engaging one another and sharing with us, the citizens of Roswell, where you all stand. And so I want to move into our question number 2. And this leading question deals with Roswell's, of course, vision for the future. It's future vision. And of course, I'm referring specifically to the Roswell 2045 Comprehensive Plan. I know that the Roswell 2045 Comprehensive Plan, it outlines our city's long-term vision, right? For land use, for growth, for transportation, and quality of life, infrastructure, all those things are there. And so the city of Roswell has started and has been working through the process of updating this comprehensive growth plan. This plan update, it it built on this plan update. It built upon the 2040 comprehensive plan, and it also built upon the 2024 economic strategy plan and the 2023 transportation master plan, and of course other recent planning efforts and all that. What we want to know is, or the question on the table is, if elected or reelected, what will be your top priorities in implementing the Roswell 2045 plan? And how will you ensure it reflects the needs of both current residents and future generations? We talked a lot about you hear a lot of talk of how our infrastructure has been impacted and that kind of thing. And how can we maintain the integrity of our communities while growing and moving forward? And so, of course, we began, I believe, Mary, you answered the first question. So, Mayor Wilson, we'll begin with you.
Thanks, Dr. Strickland. Well, you know, the first thing to start is talk about plans. Roswell was the fantastic city of plans. When we came in our very first retreat, we took 125 plans, kid you not, good plans, all over the place, and we went through them as an elected body and as a senior staff team. And we literally went through 125 plans. And so I just tell you, and by the way, the comp plan is something that the state requires, and you do one every 5 years. I think the greater question is, what is your vision and your strategy, right? And so if you look at the 2040 comp plan, in my opinion, it was actually inconsistent with the strategy that City of Roswell elected officials supposedly were pursuing, which was, by the way, there's some lack of clarity there. I think what's clear for me is that Roswell is going to become the #1 family community in America. How do you do that? You have clear and intentional economic growth. You keep a city at 120,000 people. You continue to grow the residential and commercial property values of residents. You continue to change the sales tax mix. The residential property tax mix, you continue to move that down, and you continue to move up your tax base to move it where you have more revenue coming from your business side. It's a pretty simple plan. You have to do that, though, through economic growth and economic development strategy. You can put plans out there galore, but if you don't have a clear, concise economic development plan that you can put into action, and then where capital will come into your city. Roswell has a capital problem. Capital has said to Roswell in the last 25 years, I'm not coming in your city. That's changing. It's changing because we have a clear, coherent economic development strategy. It's also changing because we're recruiting the right types of businesses. 3 types: aerospace, AAM, and human factors. And the reason aerospace is so important is because it aligns directly with what the state of Georgia is doing. So the comp plan, you will do one of those every 5 years. And what's interesting about this comp plan is it matches more what we're doing from a strategic perspective as an elected body and senior staff.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Darby.
Thank you very much. That answer lacked specificity. You know, we're going to have increased commercial areas. We're going to have lower taxes and so forth. And the fact of the matter is the city, and this has been a problem prior to Mr. Mayor Wilson's administration, and it's a problem with his current administration. It's top down. We're going to tell you what to do, and we're going to do it. And we may do it in public, we may do it in secret. And a perfect example is the Monday night when there was an open mic night, and we had to listen to a 3-hour presentation by the city's consultant, SEER Consulting. And they were very proud of the fact that they put in 660 hours into this economic development plan. 660 hours came up time and time and time again. And finally, I asked the question when I was allowed to speak, how many of those hours came from a businessman in the community? How many of those hours came from a property owner? How many of those hours came from a homeowner? And the answer was 0. It was all city staff and consultants. And that has been the problem for years. I sat in on a charrette at the Holcomb Bridge Road, Old Alabama intersection, and we were provided with a beautiful plan by our consultant, not SEER, a different consultant. And this consultant said that it was a plan with fountains and beautiful streets and small shops and on and on and on and on. It looked great. And I'm thinking, this is phenomenal. We can get behind this. And then I noticed that the entire drawing was essentially superimposed upon the Holcomb Woods Shopping Center. So I asked once again, anybody talk to anybody at Holcomb Woods? No. We need to talk to our property owners. We need to find out what they want to do and work with them. They may want density. They may want 3-story buildings. They may want less parking. If we can get them to upgrade significantly and get the neighbors around them to not only support those changes, but support those commercial developments, we will advance Roswell forward.
Thank you. Mrs. Robichaux.
So I think when we talk about comprehensive plans, yes, it's a 5-year requirement from the state, but the purpose is not so much to say, well, this is what the city's going to do, so we're going to make the plan fit what we're going to do anyway. The purpose is to look at what are your opportunities. It's almost like a SWOT. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? Where can we change? What do we need to change? Because we have to remember, we all want something to get done. None of us, we want economic development. We want to live in the best place in the state of Georgia. And that's why we moved here. I think that's why we all moved here. That's why we raised our children here. But just doing something is not always the best thing. We have to do the right thing, and that means the right thing for everyone. What was interesting to me, I've sat in on the public hearings at the comp plan this year, and what the consultants we have, they even mentioned that we still need to address our housing issues here in Roswell. We need to revitalize those existing apartment complexes that we have, and there are ways now to do it that the state has enacted some laws that could give us that teeth to make some things happen there. We need to address housing, because businesses do not want to move here if their people can't live here. It's a fact of life. We have housing. We need to make sure it's available and it's up to a standard that we'd all want to live in. The other thing, when we talk about our infrastructure, we know it's going to be deteriorating. I've been on Canton Street when it floods during those hard summer rains. We can do better than that. We need to do better than that. When we think about our historic assets and our wonderful natural resources, we need to protect them. We need to make sure that we can use those. Where are they appropriate? I'm not sure doing a 250-seat permanent tent to hold events in is really the best way to activate our historic assets. I think there might be better ways.
All right.
We get to follow back up, Dr.
Yes,
Strickland?
yes, this is your follow-up time.
Just a couple of things, just a few things. So, like, just talk about ROI, which is return on investment. That is, if you give me $2 and I give you $100 back, you're probably pretty happy with that deal. And you'll say, well, I'll take that deal all day. What business would not? What human being would not? So the return on the investment that the city of Roswell is making with Sear Consultant is literally 50-fold and actually more. And I was a little surprised. I'm surprised Steve keeps saying this, and I don't know why he does. So part of the whole consulting process is that exactly, you are working with every landowner beforehand. He's exactly right, Steve. Steve's exactly right. That used to not happen under this elected council and senior leadership team and with Sear. Is exactly right. We go work with every single landowner, every single legacy landowner. And we're also looking very strategically throughout the city. Mary is so right. Something's better. Something is not better than nothing. Look at East Village on the east side. The previous mayor and council put together East Village. And the reason it did it, because something is better than nothing. Poor tactical planning from an economic development perspective. What we're using is scarcity to our advantage. We have 44 square miles, 14% of it's gray fill, commercial gray fill. That's what we are very sensitive towards. If you look at our plan, it's not hard, we'll tell you. Hey, it's all about strategic development to synergize capital, that is people who will come invest money into our city to make more things work in a very limited space. We're very intentional, we're very disciplined, that's why you saw PBS come. Brought their North American headquarters here. That's why you saw Vestas come. That's why you saw the Heroes Market, a $140 million investment right here next to City Hall. Started off as 96 apartments, $60 million investment. This group, this elected leadership, along with Sear, turned it into a $140 million investment. And the receipts to the city, not including traditional taxes, are well over $100 million just on that alone. Sear saved us $8 million just on the purchase of the Summit. Sear saved us $3.5 million just on the purchase of Crabapple. Sear saved us just on the purchase of Bowen in '92, much maligned. We bought it for $4.5, we're selling it for $5, and we're retaining 2.5 acres for a fire station. There's not a person in this room that wouldn't take that deal. That's all because of our economic architect. So when we talk about transparency, to me, those issues, I want those. Please talk about them because they're a great deal for our residents of Roswell.
Thank you. Steve, would you like to reply to anything that Mayor
Yeah,
Wilson?
apparently we don't really need a mayor and council. We can just have SEER. They're doing all the work. I really think that is everything he said was projections. It's not real dollars. They've projected this, they've projected that. SEER projected $2.2 million in revenue from parking for this city. What did we get? Nothing to speak of. I do not think we need to rely on SEER. By the way, we lost 2 purchasing people over the Sears contract. $250,000 contract. We had a purchasing clerk who is now suing the city because she was a whistleblower and said this is a wrong deal. We did it anyway, and now we have a whistleblower lawsuit. We also have a situation where our purchasing manager thought the SEER contract did not meet his personal ethics. Now, I don't know about state law and ethics and how this all complies, but that is a serious, serious problem. But we have a situation here where we have all these projections. And a question I have is the city doing this as a business, or are we actually asking people to invest in our city? It seems like we're issuing bonds. We want to put in a stadium, so we're going to issue bonds, and we're going to be the landlord. And on and on and on. I don't think that's the city's role. I think we should encourage development. We should encourage quality development, but you do that by working with the private sector. And as for SEER negotiating with people, as far as I can tell, that's all been done in secret.
Okay. Mr. Robershow.
So again, I agree with Steve in that these are projections. We have the same projection about the Mimosa Hall activation. Where is that number really coming from as to the number of events, the cost per event, the ROI on that? When we look at it, they're saying approximately $850,000 by the end of year 5. Well, is that acceptable for the amount of money that's gone into that? And that is from national funds. A lot of that funding did come from national. Was that the best way to utilize that funding that we received from the federal government for this city? I question that. The other issues become those concepts of we're now, as Steve said, we're issuing revenue bonds to build a parking deck now on Hill Street. That's one of the issues that we were talked about at meetings that we've had with finance. So we've just had a parking deck being built on Green Street. Now we're going to have another parking deck, which I'm not against parking, but now we're going to ask you, the citizens, again, yes, it's a revenue bond. Technically, it's a different way to get a bond. It's to extend the debt. I understand all of that, but we still have to, at the basics, understand that you, the citizens, are going to be on the hook for that bill if the revenue doesn't match, because we asked that question. And yes, the funding will technically have to come out of general operating funds if the revenues from that parking doesn't match the bond.
Thank you so much. Now, I will give you each a 1-minute rebuttal if you want that. You can have it now starting now. I got to hold that minute because I want some other questions that we need to ask. So please make sure that your rebuff and rebuttal or response is precise. Mayor Wilson.
Dr. Strickland, you want me to rebut the previous statements?
however you want to.
No, I think if people are objective about this, they understand that we're good stewards of our taxpayers' money. And our job is to continue to be good stewards and to find ways to reduce the burden on residential property tax holders. That's our job. Our job is to continue to find ways to activate economic development in our city, because our city has been lagging for 25 years, and everybody in this room knows it. And so it's real easy to put, like a sour little statement on it and ask questions. And the reality was, the performers are there. It's funny, Mr. Dorvey was actually invited and said to the senior staff, which I would find kind of insulting, hey, don't give me the infomercial, just cut to the chase. Well, the infomercial is not an infomercial. It's done by professionals in the city who are trying to inform a candidate about things that are going on so the candidate will be well informed and prepared. It's interesting the candidate doesn't really seem interested in that and then wants to throw these like wide bullets out here like things that are not even factual.
Thank you. Mr. Dorvey?
The situation he's talking about was the one where I had asked one question and I was told I would have to come from a meeting, which eventually was organized 5 weeks later. We were told we had 2 hours, and the city administrator came in and said, let me do a PowerPoint presentation. And what I said was, we don't need a commercial now. We need to be able to ask our questions, because it wasn't just me, it was Mary and the other city council candidates, and everybody agreed with me that we only had time for questions. We did not have time to be informed about things from the city administrator that would have wound up being a commercial.
Okay, thank
I
you.
would go back to the statement of the 21 that Mr. Dorvey made,
One
Dr.
second.
Strickland.
One
I'm sorry,
second
forgive
there.
me.
I want to make sure that we hear from, yes. That's okay.
I would say so much infomercial, not information. It was going to be the same information that had been presented the day before at the city budget workshop, which I had attended and seen all of that information. So it wasn't that I think people aren't interested in it. It was there. My other issue would be if we're saying your claim and that you are good stewards of our dollars. So I would ask, instead of having to file an open records request, show me the complete budget and show anyone who asks the complete budget when we ask for it.
All right. Thank you all so much. I know we could stay right there on that subject there, but I do need to, we do need to kind of move on to another leading question that I believe that touches every, nearly every family here in Roswell. And of course, this issue is housing and, you know, the affordability of housing. Y'all already kind of talked about that a little bit. So I want to kind of deal with this area of, you know, we have growth challenges in Roswell and that kind of thing around, and I should be specific, around affordable and workforce housing. And sometimes these can be buzzwords, but really affordable housing, workforce housing, the relationship between the city and the Roswell Housing Authority has also been an area of public discussion and that kind of thing. And so what specific steps would you take or could you put into practice to address housing affordability while also clarifying and strengthening the partnership between the city and the Roswell Housing Authority? All right. Now I think we're back around to you, Mr. Darby. If you want to start there, that would be great.
Great.
2 minutes.
The question that I think is the hardest one of the night. I really, it's something I've been struggling with, and I'm going to admit it. It is difficult to make affordable housing work in Roswell, but we have to do it. Going back to the Housing Authority, I think that board needs to be reconstituted. I think we need to aggressively make sure that every single affordable housing or every single unit under their jurisdiction is up to snuff, it is code compliant, and it is livable, and that has not been the case. Now, as for affordable housing, I really think this is an area, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know the answer. I'm going to just say I don't know the answer. I know there are people in this city, in various organizations, and the consumers, our customers, our voters, who will, in fact, give us ideas on that. And I've heard various alternatives. I like the one where if somebody is doing a new subdivision, you put some housing aside for it's a little more affordable. But the fact of the matter is, there aren't that many new subdivisions that are going to be built in this city. So that's a problem. Can we perhaps upgrade some of our existing apartment complexes to and maybe knock them down and then make some affordable housing there along with other housing, mixed types of housing? Perhaps. But I'm going to be totally honest and say I don't have a really good answer for that yet. It is a difficult problem, and it's a problem that the city needs to address. And we've been trying to address it for years without a whole lot of success.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Robichaux.
So I agree, affordable, attainable housing, workforce housing, however we want to call it. I like to think of it as hero housing, because if you work in public safety, if you're a teacher, or if you are a hospital worker, or the person who is in sanitation, you are our heroes. You are what makes our lives work and work well. So we need to be able to allow you, if it is your choice, to live among us and with us and not have to drive in from 20, 30 miles, because ultimately you're probably going to get a job somewhere closer to your home, as most of us would. When I was in the state, I was part of the Economic Development and Tourism Committee. So we traveled around the state looking at things that different cities, different localities were doing it. One of the things that I was most impressed with, which I would like to start, and yes, it would take some resources, but one of the things that was done to help improve the issues in regards to how existing housing that is basically subpar, mold, water systems that don't work, air conditioning units, things that just are not really livable. I think we need to bring those up. But instead of doing a punitive concept of code enforcement, there are cities around that do what they would call a preemptive review of different housing places. In other words, fire department goes with code enforcement, goes with health department, goes with other agencies preemptively to look and try to identify issues early so they can be fixed early and hold people accountable. The other thing that I think we need to look at is the concept of these trusts that are buying up some of our smaller single-family homes and turning them basically into a 2 to 3 bedroom, 1 bath house. There are 12, 15, 18 people living there. That's an apartment, but it shouldn't be.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Strickland. Let's talk about the RHA, and then we'll talk about housing affordability real quick. On the RHA, so most of you may or may not know that when we came in, basically there was very little structured relationship between the City of Roswell government and the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority belongs to HUD. When we came in, there's 5 amazing volunteers that are on that board. They do a great job. But the actual relationship functionally between the city and the Housing Authority was had not existed really for years. We got in, we saw some immediate problems. One, we saw a building that was in imminent danger of failing and literally falling. We thought that we were going to lose 31 elderly people who lived in the Roswell Housing Authority. We came in, condemned the building, moved those people 31, found them homes in 31 places, and we did it very quick. Most cities don't take on that responsibility. Not only did we save the people by getting them out of a building that was functionally in imminent danger, we also found them new homes. That's a big deal. Think about that. The second thing is, thanks to Councilmember Lee Hills, who's taken a real leadership role in this, we have basically loaned the developer who's putting the next project down, who's going to break ground, I believe, October 24th. We're about to break ground on a new 120 unit for Roswell Housing Authority, and we're already working on the second one. That 120 units represents a 200% gain over the 40 units that it's replacing. Thanks to Councilmember Lee Hills and the elected leadership, the Roswell Housing Authority is being well taken care of by this group of people. It wasn't beforehand. Second thing, I'm glad Mary brought up the preemptive evaluation, because that's exactly what the City of Roswell does. And if you looked at the budget this year, you would have saw that there's additional people being added to the budget to do more preemptive work to continue to address any housing that's not substandard, any substandard housing in any apartments in the City of Roswell. Thank you for bringing that up. I will tell you one last thing. Anybody that tells you that they've got an answer on affordable housing, I don't think they're being truthful with you. And the truth of the market, the truth is the marketplace is I've got to get stopped, is the director and the dictator of most of that activity.
All right, thank you so much. Well, you're going to get a chance to kind of, can talk a little bit more about it in the sense that we're going to go into this period of kind of open discussion. So if you want to kind of pick up from where you were in kind of open discussion, you can kind of lead us into that.
Saban, I mean, it's amazing to me exactly that just look at the credible work that this group of people has done with the Housing Authority. This elected leadership and senior team stepped in when nobody else did. And they've made a real difference. And they've said, look, there's one rule. The Roswell Housing Authority needs to have the most pristine housing. That's why we're building a brand new development, and right behind it's coming another one. But the other thing is to say, look, this is for Roswell residents. This is not for all comers. This is meant to be not a stopgap, but a transition place so that people can come have affordable living. It's a big deal. This group stepped in. There no way this project, there would have been a 120 unit project would have taken out without the City of Roswell and Lee Hills and the rest of the electric leadership getting involved. A lot of talk around Housing Authority, very little action, and the past proves that. The present says something different. So that's a big deal. Also about code enforcement, because Mary is so good, such a good idea. That's why we're already doing it. We're exactly in the preemption business, and we're going to grow the preemption business, and you're going to see us do it more and more because we think it matters to the quality of life to all Roswell residents.
Okay, thank you. Mary, I'll let you.
So, in regards to the Roswell Housing Authority, I appreciate the concept of building the new 120 units. They're all single-bedroom apartments. There are 2 doubles. When we talk next about Pelfrey Pines, which will be, I believe, the next setting that will be torn down. Those are 4-bedroom units with families. Where are they going to go? They can't go into a one-bedroom apartment. And then the other thing, and no offense, but I have actually been in quite a few of the Pelfrey Pines apartments and other apartments recently. There is mold. There is water dripping from the ceiling. There is water that is not drinkable. There are air conditioning and heating units that do not work, and children are having to go to the hospital because of asthma. So if we're doing preemptive reviews, and I understand that it's the housing authority's responsibility to go in and do these reviews, because I've been with some of the residents when the housing authority management comes in and looks, but still nothing is getting done.
Thank you.
We've had 3 different companies.
Thank you. Mr. Dorby.
Just very briefly, this, in my mind, goes to a much larger problem, and that is that we seem to have a lot of people in our government that are not keeping an eye on the basics. You know, once again, the leaky roofs in the housing authority, the unclean restrooms in the parks. You know, it's just on and on and on. If you take a look at City Hall steps lately, they look horrible. We're not doing the basic blocking and tackling all over the city that we need to be doing.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much. There is yet one more question before I get into the questions that we have from the citizens of Roswell. One other question that I want to, one other leading question I want to bring up on tonight in our first round here, and that deals with infrastructure and mobility. And we're talking specifically along the lines of traffic, transportation, infrastructure. I know those are top concerns here in the city of Roswell. So what are your priorities for improving infrastructure and mobility? From road safety to public transportation options, and how will you, and how are we going to pay for that? And then how do you balance, you know, RDOT with GDOT and GDOT with RDOT? And what I mean by RDOT is Roswell Department of Transportation and, of course, Georgia Department of Transportation. And so how do we balance that, that connection? All right. And so, Ms. Robichaud, I think we're with you. Yeah.
So I
2
agree.
minutes. 2 minutes, please. 2 minutes. Go.
I agree. It is a very complex situation, especially when we here in Roswell, we have 3 major state highways running through Roswell. So we all have to understand, technically that comes under GDOT, or Georgia Department of Transportation. RDOT can work with them. We hopefully can help to build those designs, but the money's there. Different tax bases, T-Splots 1, T-Splots 2. The funding is there. There's some money set aside to do both the Gateway Project, the Holcomb Bridge 400 interchange redo. The city is to fund the Passway, the Spillway Parkway, which hasn't moved yet. We still need to pave our roads. You know, we came down, Oxbow has been open, which is great now for 2 years, but if you drive down Oxbow now, it's a lot of potholes. So we need to look at those kinds of things, our infrastructure, the flooding that's occurring. We need to look at our the concept of our retention ponds issues. We're going to be hitting some problems here in the next, and that's across the entire city. So as far as prioritizing, that's going to be a hard one, because you're going to have to see where do we stand with each of those different projects. What is it truly going to cost to fix our deteriorating sewer systems, water systems? How much does it truly cost now to dredge some of these retention ponds where we know that they are technically on private properties and in neighborhoods, but a lot of those neighborhoods are part of the entire watershed system that keeps the Chattahoochee River clean. So I think it has to be a partnership. As far as working with the Georgia Department of Transportation, I believe my service in the state legislature will have some benefits there to bring people to the table, and we can figure these things out.
Thank you so much. Mayor Wilson.
Yeah, I think just a lot of things to touch base on. Let's just talk about when we came in, there was the River Master Plan that had been designed in 2016. You say, well, what's the big deal about the River Master Plan? This group came in, activated it with $7 million in the first year. We also activated it through the bond project. We've already in second phase of the River Master Plan. You say, why is that important? Because it relates to saving the river. It's water bank edges, and storm water planning. The city of Roswell has a very aggressive stormwater plan. Most of the inventory in the Roswell housing stock is 40, 50, 60 years old with no storm planning. Let's go back to talk about infrastructure. When we came in, we discovered there was $450 million of infrastructure liability that was basically deferred from previous administrations. So, and by the way, you probably know this, 40 years ago, the city of Roswell made a very interesting decision which impacted transportation and economic development and cast a die. We told the state of Georgia we would take 0 exits. City Alpharetta ahead of us said they'll take all they wanted. We were forced to take an exit by the state of Georgia at Holcomb Bridge 92. You can see the cataclysmic effect that's had on traffic. You've also understood it's had a cataclysmic effect on economic development. We're in the business, by the way, in 2016, you voted on the Big Creek Parkway. That plan got changed by the previous administration. The previous administration gave $15 million to the state. We have since corrected it with the senior leadership team and the elected council, put it back into its original plan, the original design that you voted on in 2016, got the state, GDOT, to give us $15 million back, got the state to also add $16.5 million to build a bridge over. An amazing accomplishment for a city. Phase 1 will be done in February. It's now under construction of the Big Creek Parkway. Last year, we funded for the first time ever a full-time pothole team. Paving, the historical past of paving was $500,000 to $2 million using LMIG funds in the city of Roswell. We've upped it up as a bottom of $4 million of paving in the budget every year, and our aspiration is to go to $8 million. We also created a technical thing called PCI to use as a way of repaving roads.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Darby.
Infrastructure has always been an issue, and just to correct the history, it was a lot longer than 40 years ago when we decided we didn't need any exits on Georgia 400. I had nothing to do with that. In fact, one of the council people who was way before my time was quoted as saying, we're never going to need an exit off of Georgia 400 because nobody's going to ever come up this way. That was clearly wrong. We have to expand our sidewalks program extensively. We have to, I agree with the mayor, we have to do the Big Creek Parkway. We need to make sure that it is not impacted by any major development on the east side, because I don't want to see another exit put in so that people can get from 400 to a stadium, for example. We need to be very careful, we need to be very intentional, but there is so much we need to do in this city. We have to allocate a significant amount of tax revenue to those sorts of issues, and we need to have a consistent plan, and we need to pick them off one at a time. And we also need to go forth and get as much money out of the state as we can and get grant money. When I was on the council, we applied for a sidewalk grant, and we got it. And one of my friends lived in the city of Atlanta, and he said, well, you rich people up there in Roswell, how did you get that? And I said, we asked.
Thank you. All right. Well, listen, one thing we're going to do here is we're going to forego the discussion part of this particular leading question. And I'm going to move into, because I want to make sure we answer at least a couple of questions from our citizens here. And then, of course, I want to be able to give you good closing time, okay? I want you to be able to kind of give your vision for Roswell and that kind of thing in your closing statements. So, some of the things that were submitted by the folks who are here tonight dealt with housing, and you've kind of talked a little bit about that, has dealt with transparency, you've talked about that. But there's one question that continues to reoccur, and it is along these lines. Businesses, downtown Roswell, that kind of thing. And so some feel like they're not allowed to speak at city council meetings if they don't live in Roswell. However, they own a business here in Roswell. So the question on the table is, would you, and if so, how would you change the city's approach so that, watch this, during city council meetings or where businesses can come in without fear of being shunned, can make their comments, right? Their right to make comments in light of being business owners in the city. You understand where we're going? Okay, cool. So we will begin with you, Mayor Wilson.
Yeah, I think the issue is, I think the primary way I understand the issue is that since I've been in office, Roswell businesses have not been allowed to speak at the public city council, at the city council meetings. And there's only one person to actually put that on, that's me. I made that decision, and the reason I made the decision was based upon my own experience as a small business person, as a corporate business person. Whenever I had an issue or a challenge or a question in a city, whether it was a small city, a mid-sized city, or a large city, I always went to the appropriate parties. I would never have thought of going to a public meeting to air my grievance or thought or question, because the city has resources just like our city does. Our city is in the business of solving problems for businesses. That's what we do. So the process of saying, I want to come to a public meeting as a business person, quite frankly, was illogical to me. Saban, I've heard about it. My counsel's talked to me about it. It's not that big of an issue. If it's that big of an issue for the people, if the people really feel that they want that changed, I'll change that. No problem. Easy. Like, I will tell you that the amount of businesses that come up to me, because we solve problems for businesses all the time, say, hey, man, I sure wish I could come to a public meeting and talk about this. I hear that so little. To me, it's like one of those little things, a mountain out of a molehill. But if people want it solved, we can solve it. It's not a big deal. But I'm saying from my own personal experience, it's illogical. And I'm saying from my own personal experience of dealing with businesses in the city of Roswell who we solve problems for all the time, open door. So this is just like making something out of something out of nothing and saying, oh, people are allowed, businesses should be allowed to talk. Well, of course businesses are allowed to talk. They talk all the time. The public meeting is, in my opinion, is for residents and residents who live in the city of Roswell. And if we created a little public meeting place today, we would say, hey, all the residents who live here, we're the ones who are going to talk. We wouldn't be saying, hey, all the residents who don't live here, they get to talk. Hey, businesses pay taxes 100%. It's not about paying taxes. It's about who the residents are. But we can change that easy peasy, no problem.
Okay. Mr. Dorvey.
I'm glad to hear that the mayor is beginning to change his position on this. At the last forum, he doubled down and said, it's my rule and I'm going to keep it. The fact of the matter is, if businesses were able to communicate so easily with City Hall, then the Canton Street closure disaster would have never happened. Those businesses had to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get this city to stop their plan, which they didn't consult with the businesses about, to stop their plan for closing Canton Street. The mayor, in his 2021 campaign, said he wanted to create a business-friendly environment. Not listening to them and not telling them what you're going to do is not business-friendly.
Okay.
So obviously, if elected, yes, businesses will be able to speak at City Hall, and I appreciate that the mayor maybe is going to change his mind on what we all believe is a mistake. The other issue for businesses, in my opinion, also what I've been hearing is the issues with permitting. There are some issues that, again, as we're saying, we need to keep focusing on that, making it easier to do business, that they want to come here. While we say we're bringing in businesses, I'm also hearing from lots of people who say they won't come to Roswell to open their business because it is very difficult to get their permitting, to get things done here in this city still.
All right. Thank you.
Can I follow up on that?
1 minute.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. It's been the city of no. Everybody in this room knows it. It's been hard to do business. Hard to do business in the city of Roswell. Hard to get permits through our community development department. There's been a lot of dysfunction and inaction. Everybody in this room knows that. That's why you elected me 4 years ago, was to get something done about it. You didn't elect me to say, hey, can we have Roswell businesses come talk to the open mic meetings? You elected me to say, get something done for these businesses. Make it friendly to do business in the city of Roswell and invite new capital and new businesses. And that's what we're doing. This is not an issue about businesses coming talking open mic. It's about solving problems for businesses. That's what we're doing. We're solving them holistically, not one-off, but holistically. That's why solving ComDev is so important. You have to solve problems holistically and strategically, or you just one-off. Hey, I just took care of one person, one business. No, you got to solve it for everybody.
Thank you so much. I gave him 1 minute. I will give you two 1 minute if you want it.
I don't think I need to say much else. I mean, I think the mayor's agreeing with me that we still have problems. He has been in office for almost 4 years. Appreciate that there are things need to be changed to keep improving, but yet it seems as if now, because we're coming close to the end of his term, suddenly everything's going to get better. Just question.
All right, thank you so much. So there's one other specific question I want to get that came from our citizens here who are here tonight, and that is the stadium that is to be built or proposed to be built on the east side. And so what the question we have around the stadium is, well, what is this stadium all about? What is it going to be for? How's it going to be funded? And will it produce any, generate any revenue that would really benefit the cities, and have have the residents been consulted, and will the residents have input on this arena or this stadium coming to our city? So again, we began with Steve, I believe. He just
I think that's right.
Yep.
In my view, the stadium and the entertainment complex with the apartment complex or the apartments next to it is a bad idea for a whole lot of reasons. But just let's talk about the stadium first. Apparently the city's going to fund it with bonds. Well, they were going to make it bigger than the Battery, although it's only going to be a 15,000 seat stadium for a minor league soccer team. The Battery's still being paid off by the Cobb taxpayers. I don't think we need to saddle the citizens of Roswell with that sort of burden. Furthermore, every study that has been done says that stadiums do not generate income, they just suck it from other areas. So we can take our C and D or B level shopping centers and just close them, I guess, because that's what this stadium will do. It has not been put forth before the voters, it has not been put forth before the citizens. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe we can come up with a good idea, but we need to stop the current plan, we need to sit back, and we need to focus on the things that the comprehensive land use plan says we need to focus on, working on these shopping centers. You know, the mayor said himself in his, he wanted to have a nationally recognized botanical garden, a prestigious art museum, event space, high-end retail and residential, awesome green spaces, and we get a stadium. I mean, that's just a bad idea. It was never voted on, people didn't elect him for it, and he hasn't told anybody about it, where it's gonna go, and I think it's just a bad idea. It's not gonna do what he says it will do, and it could wind up being a disaster.
Okay. Mrs. Robichaux.
So I am also basically against a stadium per se. I think we do an entertainment type center of some sort in that area, but it's got to be the right kind, something that will draw families in during the day, which is what is needed. Something that will be family friendly, not something that's going to hold a few soccer games and then what I heard was 60 outdoor concerts are going to also be there a year to make revenue. I think I'm the only one on this up here that I actually live over on that part of Roswell, and I can sit out on my deck and I can hear all the music from the Ameris Amphitheater. So now am I going to have competing music from the other concert venue? I don't understand how that's going to work and benefit all citizens. And I appreciate someone said at the last forum, well, we're going to increase taxes, we're going to increase food taxes, we're going to increase alcohol sales tax, we're going to increase those kinds of things. I'm not sure, again, is that the only thing we can do as a family-friendly city as far as some form of other draw that will draw people in, maybe an indoor swimming center, something that will draw people here that we can have long-term and again, spur continued economic growth across the city.
Thank you so much. Mayor Wilson.
Yeah, Saban, I think the great thing about us having this conversation is you're getting to hear a clear contrast about why the city struggled so much in the past. Is because you heard a lot of solutioneering about ideals that were basically had very low-level opportunities for success, not vetted, didn't make a lot of sense, and didn't have real expertise adding to the decision-making and advising about how you change things. First thing is, I don't know that we're going to do a stadium on the east side. I can't tell you. I will tell you, I do believe in boundary-breaking infrastructure. I do believe in mixed-use, high-level entertainment districts. The reason you put a stadium in there is the same reason, because you need to activate and have the office space be a space. In the city of Atlanta, our region, the ARC, office space is at 73% vacancy. It's the highest level among the first-tier marketplaces in the United States. Do you know the two developments Roswell's got? We're at 93% across the city. We're about to be 100 at Southern Post with the same opportunities, because we know how to put mixed-use developments that activate and make it valuable, make your office space valuable, which brings more people in, creates more dollar spending, and also creates more family-friendly activities. The reason you have a soccer stadium, same reason you have retail and food and office and a hotel. Is create synergy and life and activity. Just like this Hill Rose district, if you looked at it, it's a sense of community. That's what we will do. It will come before the taxpayers before it's ever approved. But you expect your people to be doing, like, think about, that's the way things were done in the past. They were always brought to us as residents to say, what do you think about, what do you think about, and everything got killed. You need us as elected officials to be about your business of getting things done, moving them forward, and then bringing them to you for final approval, because you are the final approval and will be the final approval if there's a Roswell Entertainment District, which today I can't tell you there will be.
Thank you all so very much. All right. Okay, so that brings a close to our, second kind of major division in this debate. And so you're going to have an opportunity now to give closing statements, okay? And after you give those closing statements, I will make some closing remarks, and we will adjourn for tonight. And so we'll begin, I believe, with Mary Did you go? Mary Robichaud, I think it's. All right, yep.
So,
You got 2 minutes.
okay. We are all Roswell. We all want our city to grow, to be a place that we can call home, a place that we can be proud of, a place that when family comes to visit us, they want to live here with us. We want a place where our children, if available, can come back and live here also. We want a place that respects where we came from, who we are, and where we're going next. I do believe that together we can build that. We're on the way. I've been a resident for 32 years here. We've all seen some changes. Some things don't go well. Things have to stop, but that's life. That's how you grow. That's how you move forward. As I said, we're all going to make some mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes to move forward. We include people, not early on. Some people may not like that aspect, but I think there are ways to do that. We've had multiple community groups giving plans to the different parts of the city as to what they would like to see there. And as the mayor said, they've looked at those. Let's make sure those are incorporated. Because when I asked the comprehensive plan consultants, they had not even seen those at that point. So again, we've had a lot of work done for our city. We are a city so rich in history, but also so rich in these natural resources that we, as citizens, it's our duty to protect both, but it's to protect both for everyone, not just a select few.
Thank you so very much. Mayor Wilson, your closing statement.
Mary's absolutely right. It is about all of us. It's about all 94,000 of us. And it's about today, it's about our past, and it's about our future. It's about what happens, how do we get there? And what you and I have experienced as residents and as businesses over the last 25 years, we've had a lot of dysfunction in action, and we all know that. It's a very simple question to be really put in front of you. Like, if you think about this, and I mentioned the questions in my opening statements. Today, because we pay our police, invest in our rock center, invest in flock cameras, invest in our police, when we came on, there were 30 vacancies. Today, Roswell is the largest city in the United States, 3 years running, with more than 100 badges that has 0 vacancies on its police force. That's not by accident. What's the consequence of that? The consequence of that is the lowest crime rate in 25 years. Again, not an accident. It's also the ability to aggressively go after human trafficking, something that was largely ignored in our city. Think about that. Think about this. You had a part-time fire department forever. You now are in the 3rd year of a 5-year transition plan, not numbers, real time, real things happening. You're having a full-time fire department at the end of next year. That's because this group's done it. On and on. I can mention the lowest property tax rate in 38 years, yet have added to paving, yet have added to so many things that matter to your lives. Have added a full-time fire department, $5.8 million left. Think about that, all while doing a rollback tax rate over the last 2 years. This election's simple. You can go back to the way things were, we can talk about them and not get anything done, or you can continue to have access in full manner to this group of elected officials, including myself, with a group of people that have a plan, have a strategy. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want the same thing you want. I want my representative government to get things done the way that's going to matter to my family and my life and my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Dorby, your closing statement.
Thank you very much. You just heard the mayor use the term representative government. That's because he said he doesn't believe in democracy. He's not interested in listening to you. I am bullish on this city. I am so excited about this city. We are a great city. We were number one in the country when I was on the council. We were one of the top 10 places to live. We can be that again. We can do that, but we have to get you involved. We can't be a top-down, we know what we're doing, we'll get back to you when it's done government. We can't do that. We need to get everybody involved in making this city great, or it won't be great. We'll just have continued divisions. We will have people that feel like they've been left out. We will have people, like many now, who feel they've been lied to, and we don't need that. We need to move Roswell forward together. Get all of our various organizations working in the same way to make this city the place we all know it can be, a great, great city. Thank you.
Wow. Well, now, let me say thank you to our community, to you, the citizens of Roswell, Georgia. Thank you for the thoughtful questions that you submitted here on tonight. Thank you very much for your attendance in person and those who are with us virtually. And we appreciate your presence. I want you to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that your presence is so very important. Your voice matters. And, of course, your vote makes a difference, makes a big difference. Again, I thank you to a great God bless you, and a thank you to each. I will get there if you give me 1 minute. I want to say thank you to all of you candidates, to you three candidates who are with us on tonight. We appreciate your taking time out of your schedule to address we, the citizens of Roswell, Georgia. We appreciate you for doing this with us and for us on tonight. So to all of the candidates, and then to those, the committee of folks who worked with me in putting tonight together. Yes, let's thank you all so much for that. You know who you are. I appreciate that. Our timekeepers, our media team, and thank y'all so much. And again, those who have worked behind the scene to make this night possible, I appreciate that. The folks on the cameras, behind the cameras, thank you all for making this night happen. All right. Now, as Mary Robichaud was just asking me, I want to give us a couple of reminders. Early voting, it begins on Monday, October the 14th, I believe, right? Tuesday. All right. So in 2 days from now, right? So please make sure that you govern yourself accordingly. And then, of course, it continues through, when is the last day for early? October 31st. All right. So please make sure that we govern ourselves accordingly. And then, of course, we have Election Day on Tuesday, November the 4th. All right. Y'all got that. Y'all do your work. Y'all got it. All right. All right, so, but please make sure that we govern ourselves accordingly, all right? So again, on behalf of the Pleasant Hill Church and the Roswell community, my name is Dr. Saban Strickland. Thank y'all so much for being here with us on tonight. This adjourns our time together. God bless you. Y'all can engage these mayoral candidates a little bit, and of course, our city council candidates, feel free to engage them a little more.